Need to just wait till this starts here. Yeah, I need that. Should be on. Oh, we're on now. How you doing, guys? Just bear with me a wee second. Got a special guest today, just arrived, Marty.
Where? Special? You calling me special?
Aye.
Well,
That kind of special. J40, this stuff makes Dale more mentally ill by the day. Oh, Jay. Oh. Jay, why don't you get your wee Fartonius in here, along with the rest of your sophist pals, to sort you out. Right? The only ones that are mentally ill are those still believing in the globe religion. Right?
12 monkeys.
Aye.
The lunatics are outside the fucking asylum.
Yeah. So, I've got Marty here, which is an added bonus. Very nice to see you, my man.
Hello.
Gav will be here, and Marshall, obviously. I'm just going to have a laugh. I got up this morning and I've seen this Lake Pontchartrain thing with the curved water and the curved poles or telegraph poles. You seen this?
All right, aye.
This is curvature of the earth, apparently.
So the fuck it is.
So, you know.
So if you were standing at the right hand side of that, you would actually see it like a rainbow.
Well, this is the point I'm actually going to get to. You know, because again, they want to invoke and cherry pick when it suits them.
Aye, and just,
you know, but we don't have it on the x-axis. No, you're not allowed that. It's only ever straight out in front of you. But I'm going to get through it. I'll go through it when Gav gets here as well. So just bear with us, people. As I say, these sophists, these trolls, these whatever you want to call them, whether they're just gullible, stupid people who don't understand science or what's actually going on.
They don't want to lose their gold stars.
I really don't care. It's all the same one and the same thing as far as I'm concerned. Sorry, Marty, 2 seconds. Oops. Copy. So, where are we? Right, Sophism. You know, I don't know if anybody's new and you need to know what Sophism is. I suggest that you check it out. Just Google the word Sophism. It is used a lot with this globe religion. They use things to try and deliberately deceive people. They're using argumentation and things that don't really represent their actual claims. So in this case, we're talking about the Lake Pontchartrain, where guys like, wait, you remember, I get their names here, Soundly, Wolfie, Jed, Timmy, ALK, the usual, you know, sophist trolls, these morons who cherry pick. They take one image and they show you and go, oh, it's curvature, it's curvature. Now this one in particular I'm looking at, you know, as Marty just said, and that's the point I was going to bring up obviously straight away. You know, we take the equilateral triangle. If you're seeing that type of curvature straight in front of you, they should have another person, you know, at 90-degree angle. And we should be able to see this fucking arch. But it's never there. And they don't take multiple pictures, they just cherry pick, try and get the right effect that they're looking for, take the picture and then boom, start claiming that it's proof of curvature. And even looking at this, I'll share it in a minute, you know, if you
complete... It looks CGI to me, but the worst case scenario I'd say is a very good show of refraction.
Aye. And if you complete that curvature that they're trying to suggest, I mean, me and you could jump the motorbikes and be around the earth in 2 hours.
Hell yeah.
Maybe not even that.
What do you mean round the earth?
Round the earth.
You go in a circle, that's where you can round the earth in a circle. Still flat. You're going round. Permanently left.
There's not going to be much there just apart from taking the piss out of this utter nonsense. And if any of these clowns would like to come in and discuss this, by all means. And again, we're back at the same thing. Why are these clowns still trying to push this nonsense as some sort of proof of a globe earth? It should be way beyond that now. You know, some guy taking one snap or one angle through their video camera. It's no scientific, you know.
It has to be repeatable.
Yeah. And taken from all different aspects, as we say. Don't just take it from your wee angle that suits you and your cherry picking all the way around it. Shows the arch this way. They're not doing that. Right? And we know, again, I'm just going to get back to it, The most accurate measuring tool we have is the water. We know that the water is not conforming to the exterior of any shape. That is science, practical, observed, tested, repeated. To everybody's blue in the face, water does not behave like that. Does not have the ability to support itself and display convexity upon its surface. Okay, so...
Well, listening, Mr. Uru, display convexity, that's a new one.
Yes, yes. Well, I've had time to sharpen up my words, you know.
We're losing the layman. Anyway.
Daniel Reid tipping my flat cap to you, Dale. Fuck the bowlers, yes. But as I keep saying, you know, they continue to have a presence. So we should continue to have a presence and laugh at their utter stupidity and pull it up every chance we get, which is exactly what we're going to do. Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Cheers. Just on your sideline, Bill. Just the name Tim Osman, right? Yeah. Now, that takes me back to like your Osama bin Laden and such. Like, did he know of a name?
Yeah.
According to them, just gone by their theory, like CIA name, which was it no Tim Osman or something?
Yeah, that's right.
Right, just like, I thought that the other day. I was like, Tim Osman, how do you know?
He's the boy's just a lost soul, you know. He's either on the payroll or he's the most stupid.
But there's nothing wrong with nail biters.
Yeah. You're an ex-nail biter.
I'm an ex-nail biter. So, 40 odd years I bit my
didn't really apply to you.
It did. I'm distracting you, mate. Sorry.
That's all right. Apolitical Gem Billy, yes, because pointing out that Dale is incorrect is a banning offence, of course. No, more of this utter nonsense. We keep seeing these clowns pushing that crap. Oh, if you disagree with Dale, you get banned. No, 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 no. If you push Sophism and nonsense in your religious crap, you will be banned. The platform is always open and welcome to any of these sophist trolls to come in and prove their nature-defying cartoon globe, but they're never going to do that, right? And they know that it's not going to wash here, because the measuring tool here is water. They don't like it, right? And they have nothing, and they just know that they're going to look ridiculous. So, Gav, how are you, mate? You're muted there.
I'm good, my man. Yourself?
Aye, all right, all right. Just having a wee laugh. So,
aye.
Just bear with me 2 seconds, mate. I'm going to share this. I need to shut that down so that I can screen share what I was talking about. I think it's this one. So we should be seeing that. If you can let me know if you're seeing it.
Aye, I can see it. Right.
So this is what I'm talking about. You know, we have this video. Again, part of the sophism, it's always straight in front of them. I mean, they're panning left to right here, and we're not seeing a curvature that matches what they're trying to suggest straight in front.
Well, there's a fucking surprise, eh?
We live in a cylinder.
Aye.
That makes sense.
Aye, this is it. I mean, is that what they're suggesting? We're living in a cylinder.
Well, our typical usual stuff, presenting images as proof of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely no, you know, talk about, you know, what are their underlying assumptions, you know, so you're supposed to kind of guess exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we can go into that in a wee bit more detail in a minute, but, you know, just showing an image and saying, that's it, look, it's just, yeah, it's not science.
Yeah. And this other troll, this Alki, I say Alki, another Scottish guy, is a total fucking embarrassment. Trying to prop this up. What a fucking traitor to human beings this chap is. Offers absolutely nothing but the same bollocks. So again, we have other sophists jumping on it and trying to push it as if it means something. And again here, this guy soundly trying to prove curved water by viewing straight out in front of himself when he knows he's going to get an optical effect, when he should be smart enough to know that if he knew science and fluid mechanics, that the water is not going to be displaying convexity whatsoever. What was the other one that I found absolutely hysterical? Bear with me.
I've got a good one too to show.
Excellent, mate. I'll stop screen sharing in a wee second. So here we can see the sophistry in action. This is a Soundly chap again, and what he has here is a ruler with a bend in it, and he's showing it straight in front. What you notice here with Mr. Soundly is that he never walks round to the side to show you the obvious curvature from left to right. because he knows he's going to get pulled up for it.
Sometimes the words don't translate.
Sadly missing on their model, it curves away on all sides from us equally. So,
yep.
Close it, please.
So there we go. Look, always the same. This is sophism. This is them cherry picking and trying to push something that gives you an impression of curvature when it's no curvature. The water is no curved.
It's playing on the minds of everybody nowadays, because you know everything nowadays is an image-based reality. So maybe they can just promote images, and here people are going to go, oh, see, there's a picture.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, hang on, I'm going to stop that screen sharing. Hi, Gav.
Let me just screen share the one I found. Well, actually, it wasn't me. It was my buddy Orbic Fudpucker, but I think he might join in a minute.
Excellent.
But hold on, if you can see that screen. To compensate for the curvature of the Earth, the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway was built roughly 2 inches longer than the distance it spans. What's it, about 21 miles? It was built in, I think it was in 200 different sections, you know. So that would, I'd hate to have had the job that the one guy had to make sure that each section was 1/100th of an inch accurate. I'd like to know his practical methods to get that quality assurance. Mind you, they do say roughly, you know, so it obviously doesn't really matter if it's 2 or 3, right?
Aye, that's the kind of globe science we're talking about, you know, roughly. Fuck it.
Gravity's roughly 9.8 meters per second square. You know,
I thought that was brilliant. You know, I mean, how can anybody believe that bullshit, you know? 2 inches longer than the distance it spans, you know, that's some feat of engineering, that, eh?
But you know, I really don't have any, much more to say on that. The matter, for me, it's just a laugh. It's just an opportunity to take the piss out of these numpties and question that, their sanity. I mean, why is it they keep trying to push this crap? Yeah.
Here's only a wee funny one. It was a guy going on about gravity one time, right? And he kept going on about it. I was like, listen, even the scientists will tell you it's variable. It's not a constant.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, all right then. He admitted to it, right? And I turned around and says, well, how come, see where there's less gravity? So they can take their gold there and get it weighed, and it's going to be dead light compared to really take it where there's heavy gravity. Or they've got things that compensate for that. I was like, all right.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? You've heard this numerous times before, and it'd be so simple. We would all be millionaires. I don't know why we're sitting here online.
Go somewhere where there's less gravity, buy their gold, and take it somewhere where there's more gravity, and it'll weigh more.
Exactly.
I just imagine the screaming that would go on. There was some guy did it, worked it out. I saw it was quite good with coffee beans, getting them in the equator and shipping them to Scotland, And you can make a ton of money just in logistics.
Nice wee scam there.
Funny stuff. But I think lots of these things, come back to the discussion around if we all can't agree on first principles, right, of the things that we're actually discussing, the definitions of, like what geometry's been assumed, how does the eye work, how does the mind work, all these things, if we don't agree on them, and I mean both sides of the debate, right, then there's no way we can have a discussion, because for somebody taking those photos and assuming certain, I don't know what's the best way, assuming certain first principles, he's actually reasoning correctly as far as he's concerned, right? So whether it's intentional or he's a shill, it doesn't really matter. He's reasoning from these first definitions and axioms that he's assuming, right? But there's no discussion at all in the community, if you want to call it that, about what these first principles need to be, Because if we are using different ones that the common man understand, what a horizon means, what is the actual measure, then we're talking past each other again, right? So the discussion needs to focus on what can we agree on so that we can move forward and have a discussion, and that's the one they avoid, right? They're showing us images, presenting what they say is proof, and we're not talking about, well, what is it you're actually assuming here,
Exactly.
And that can only be deliberate or obtuse, right? So either way, it's not what we need right to move forward. Yeah.
And that's the point I keep trying to make to them. You know, we have to get to these things in order to have the discussion, in order to progress it. You know, as you say, well, you know, what are we discussing? For me, when I say water, and that's my measuring tool, water is level. I mean, that level is level. You know, they can try and invoke some other meaning or they like, you know, but the practical reality, you know, shows what I mean.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. And it is the only definition that we can all agree on based on our common sense, right? And our faculties and equipment that we get. So, you know, it has to be the one we look at and agree on. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, Glenn.
How you doing, man?
Great, yeah. Great, Dale.
How you doing, bud?
Good, thanks.
Nice to see you joining us.
Yeah, my first time.
Nervous?
Glad to be. I am a little bit.
We're not changed. We use lube.
Glenn, we were just talking about the pontchartrain bridge or the causeway, huh?
Oh yeah.
I showed that image that you sent me from Modern Marvels, huh? Regarding the 2 inches longer, and we had a wee laugh at it. But you looked a little bit into the construction of it.
That Modern Marvels episode is all about the construction of it. I think it was the first prefabricated bridge ever built, and it was built from pre-stressed concrete. Those pylons are all hollow. About, I think, got 6 or 8 inch thick walls. But when I first saw that documentary, I'd been looking at the Bedford level and trying to figure out how to do that Bedford level experiment here myself on a lake that's nearby to here, where I could, well, one lake I could see 5 miles across, and the other one I had 15 miles. But I was still getting all those sort of atmospheric or atmospheric effects, like the mirage on some days and then just distortion on other days. And I was trying to figure out how could we do an experiment where we wouldn't get that sort of, have that sort of issue. And then I saw this thing about the Lake Pontchartrain causeway, and I thought if we could set up theodolites, if we could just get in a boat and go across that causeway from pylon to pylon and set up theodolites, use theodolites doing backwards and forwards sightings, we could prove without any doubt whatsoever that that surface was not curved. Yep. We could do it as a proper, rigorous, scientific test.
Let's pull them up on it. Better than fucking photographs anyway, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's cherry-picked photographs and video, you know. It seems deliberate to me. And again, you know, we get back to these, and I'm all for it if it helps people. I always just keep coming back to it. We know through physics that the water is not convex in any way, shape or form. So there's an optics thing going on here, you know, and it goes back to, you know, your levels, Gav, you know, how the eye works and how perception's working.
I've got a couple of slides if you want. I can show them that might maybe help people understand what's meant by that, huh? Or what the problems could be. Hold on a sec.
Sorry, Marshall, for never saying hello to you, mate. Taking you for granted there.
Aye, Marshall, how you doing?
How you doing, Gav? Yeah, nobody talks to me, Dal. You know.
Well, don't I get my wee violin in
it? Is that,
G'day, Marshall.
Is that sorry? Is that Marty I'm hearing next to you?
Yes, Marty. Hello. Marty paid a surprise visit today.
And a day off work. Not that I work, just a day off.
But it's good to hear your dulcet tones again.
Why, thank you, sir. I am a Brammer, a chanter, so they say.
You can just screen share whenever you like, Gav.
Alright, just 1 sec. Just want to roll myself.
Have any of these sophists appeared in the chat at all?
I'll bring them on.
Nobody asking to be linked in. If that's the question.
You tell me.
So I think you read out the low level retorts at the beginning, Dal, didn't you?
Yeah. Is that all they've got to offer? We don't have any of these sophists about to speak. No.
No, not yet. But we can live in hope, can't we?
That'd be cool.
I don't know if you can see that. I think I need to speak for people to see it, or
yeah. In fact, I can just click your screen, I think, and that should keep it there. That's it.
Is that what everybody sees then, is it?
Yeah, yeah, it'll no move now, even if we're talking.
Oh, I'm still seeing you though.
Are you?
Maybe full screen on yours, Gav.
What's that?
Maybe make it full screen on yours.
No, it's there. It's well, on the watch page. It's your screen, Gav. So.
All right. Okay. The great Glenn helped to make this little meme to better explain what's going on. The great switcheroo, we've called it. The guy looking at a ball with an eye behind his back. I think it's kind of representative of the fact that they've got us all believing in this big idea, this spinning, rotating, whizzing ball, and yet we don't really completely understand how the eye works. And maybe just to go through this in a little bit of detail. Feel free to ask questions, but my opinion, at least, is that this is the kind of thing that we need to go back to and discuss, right?
Correct. That's where I was a few months ago.
Yeah.
Aye, because nobody knows everybody. There's too many unknown unknowns, and to take it for granted that what everybody's saying is just accepted rather than proven.
Aye.
As I always say, nobody knows what goes on in the eye to say what we're actually seeing. Because I'm convinced we actually live in a two-dimensional reality. We just have this perception of three-dimensional by walking around things, but we only ever see in two-dimensional.
Well, I think you're correct there. That we see in two-dimensional. I do think we have a three-dimensional physical space, but we have a two-dimensional visible space that never gets talked about, which I would call the geometry of vision. Yeah. So maybe just to take the rest of the people watching down the path here, what we are told is that we live on this ball, right? And that we see stuff basically through Euclidean eyes. And when I say Euclidean, I mean like planar vision. So, we're supposed to be on a rotating surface, right? And our visual perception when we look at things delivers objects to us which people reason to actually have Euclidean geometry, i.e. the tangible stuff that we can usually measure. And when they represent things to us, they show us basically ideas, right? And we've been conditioned to kind of accept that stuff. And we basically see pictures on flat surfaces, whether it's your TV screen, your mobile, your smartphone, a piece of paper, right?
Or photos across Lake Pontchartrain.
Yeah, or that, for example. Yeah. Now, that's the one way of looking at it, right? This little diagram here is showing the ball. It's showing a little dot of somebody here, somewhere precariously perched on the surface, with his zenith over his head, and pointing towards his feet, pointing towards the center of the earth. Yeah. And when he's looking at stuff, then basically he sees flat pictures all the time, right? That's what we've been convinced to believe in, right? This scenario. But the truth is actually, as far as I'm concerned, and again, this is my opinion, exactly the opposite. We live in a Euclidean world, but we actually see through spherical eyes. When I say that, I mean the geometry of visible space is spherical, right? So that when you stand on a flat surface and you're looking at something, in this case the flat surface is this round circular plane, and this little ball is kind of representative of the visible space around somebody that he can view, then he's actually using spherical geometry to see things, right? And that's what our direct reality tells us, that it's spherical. And I'll come to two examples in a minute to make that very clear. But our direct realism, shows us that we actually get presented to things, directly through our eyes, and that's what I would call the natural perspective. Yeah, to distinguish it again from all the other versions of perspective that are out there and have been talked about. I'm trying to, define.
The core of that, Gavin.
Sorry?
I take you to the core of what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Right. How do we manipulate what we see? We look through lenses. What's the first thing in our eye? A lens. So even our eyes are manipulating what we're actually seeing, if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. The eye is a fascinating, you know, object. I mean, it's the best sense we have, right? It's the one we need daily.
I've got is the first thing we actually see through is a lens, and that lenses are created to manipulate what's actually there, whether it's concave, convex, or whatever, you know.
Absolutely, that's where the discussion needs to go. I don't have all the answers to all your questions, Marty, but
I was just adding on to what you're saying there, mate. I'm with you 100% on this. I was just saying, obviously, the first point is our lens in one eye.
Yep.
You know, obviously, we've got to believe that light enters our eye. Then the first thing that light hits is the lens.
Yeah.
So then that lens obviously distorts what we're actually seeing.
At the moment, let me just stop sharing and just maybe make my point slightly differently. If what I'm talking about there is not necessarily the eyeball, but I'm talking about the visual space that we see around us, you know, when we're looking about stuff, right? When we look at the sky, or if we're in a room, then we've got this visual space around us. And it's completely different from the tangible space, you know, because I can't touch things. I'm only seeing things, right? And as far as I'm concerned, if I take one of my little props here, I've got a wee sphere. This, if I'm in the if my eye is at the inside of this sphere, right, then this sphere represents the visual space that I'm looking at, right? You need to imagine I'm in the center, right? And I'm looking around, and I'm looking down at my feet, and I'm looking up at the sky. I'm always in a kind of spherical bubble, if you know what I mean, yeah? Now, that spherical, the geometry that describes that bubble that I'm standing in is exactly the same geometry as the Earth sphere that they sell us, right? So mathematically, if I'm either thinking about I'm on a sphere and I've got straight planar vision, or I'm on a flat plane and I've got spherical vision, these two things are interchangeable, right? Which is why, if you like, the maths and the physics works, or would appear to work, and why people are so easily confused and manipulated, right? That's my opinion. And there's a lot of material to back that up. The main two things, the 2 points that I'd like to point out to people is I'll take my wee prop back again, just to prove to people that the visual space that I have is that of spherical geometry. There's two things that I can point out that everybody will understand. And it's if I'm at the center of this sphere and I'm looking at the horizon, then I would always see basically a straight line, right? The horizon rises to the level of my eye. And when I look around, if I rotate 360 degrees, then it always looks straight. But what I've done is describe an equatorial circle in my visual space, right? Like a hula hoop round my eyes, yeah?
See, when you're doing there, Gavin, sorry to interject again, didn't everyone mind, like back in the 80s and the 90s, we used to have BBC Two on the telly, and if there was another programme coming on, it would have a flat map, but a ball rotating.
Right.
You know, that's kind of along the lines of what you're saying there, I think.
Like a gyroscope.
Aye.
Yeah. And the other thing that everybody can prove to themselves, you know, so we basically have a horizon. Our visual experience, our visual perception gives us a horizon just the same way as a globe would, right? And the other thing that, you know, everybody can prove to themselves is if you look at two parallel railway lines, right? And they're up, you know, I'm not holding this maybe very well, but the parallel lines and I'm looking straight down them, then they will appear to come together, right? Yeah. And if I turn again 180 degrees and look backwards down the railway line, then they're also going to join at one point, right? Now that again is the same thing that we're told is on a ball, right? Where the longitudinal lines all meet at the North Pole, right? And at the South Pole, right? So these are two things that you can go experience for yourself to understand that your geometry of visible space is spherical geometry, is what I'm trying to say here, right? And people, I think there's other parts to that as well, the way you view a star above your head, a star on the horizon, and a star on the east, how you can, you know, get the 90-degree angles. There's various observations that you can make that basically verify the fact that your vision is spherical. And if your vision's spherical and you're on a flat plane, then the mathematics is just the same as if you're on a spherical ball and you've got planar vision. Yeah? And I think there's I think that's where the discussion needs to go back to, that we talk about that we have agreements on that, so that, because otherwise there's one camp having assumptions and definitions, another camp having theirs. Everybody's just defending positions, fighting and debating, and we're not having any discussion. And maybe my last sentence on that is, if academia doesn't come to the table, then as far as I'm concerned, the common man needs to go out and make his own fucking definitions, yeah? With or without them, yeah? And so, and that's the side I'm on.
Excellent.
So, does that make sense, Martin?
Would the case be then that it's basically the point of view that's the big difference? That your axioms that you use for the basis of mathematics depends on whether you're at the centre of the sphere looking out, or you're on the surface of the sphere looking.
Absolutely.
So if you're at, right, I get it now.
And, you know, as far as astronomical observations go, they actually make these two things coincide. So whether you're on the surface in your horizontal plane, or the horizontal plane through the Earth, they're defined to be the same coincidental, because the distance to the surface of the Earth is so small compared to the apparent light years to the stars that it can be ignored. So astronomically, they ignore that part about the surface, and they ignore that part about the fact that we've got spherical eyes, right? Or, sorry, when I say, well, the eye is spherical, but what I'm talking about is the geometry of visible space when I say spherical vision, yeah?
So that means that the mathematics cannot be proof.
No. Well, I mean, mathematics can't, any mathematician, again, I'll repeat this for everybody else as well, that if I'm a mathematician, and then I have to believe in the axioms that I set up, right? And if I believe in them, then I can go forward and reason in mathematics and come to a conclusion. But they do depend on me believing my own axioms. If I, on the other hand, have different first principles and different axioms, my reasoning and conclusions are also valid. They'll just come to a different one than the other guy, right? And that's what we seem to be, doing the last couple of years, is just, people talking past each other, right? And rather than talking about what are the things that we can actually agree on and go from there.
So we're not even really fighting about first principles yet.
No, that's what the discussion needs to be.
No.
Yeah, we need to work out what those first principles are. Then we can have a proper discussion.
Yeah, that's my take on it.
Well, it has to be. In order for us to progress, it has to be that way. But you're just going to forever have this perpetual dichotomy of one side against the other, as you say, talking past each other.
Yep, yeah, which is what they want, right? They want us all fighting, yeah?
Yeah.
Certainly don't want to have a discussion based on going back. And I mean, you can, and it's not as if these discussions haven't been had. You can look at lots of, mathematicians and geometers for the last 300 years. They've all brought this problem up, yeah? Not the problem, they haven't necessarily discussed the spherical vision, but they've always brought up the problem of what is an axiom, what are the universal ideas that we can agree on, because that is the basis of knowledge, right? If you don't agree on that, all you're doing is talking past each other. Useless, waste of time,
Yeah.
One of the things, sorry, Joe.
On you go, mate.
One of the things that gets me is the way that the people who base all their understanding on these non-Euclidean geometries have basically come out and said that Euclidean geometry is wrong, that Euclid was a fool, that he didn't know what he was talking about. But I mean, when you look at his axioms, they're just so obviously true. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Not only that, Glenn, but every construction over the last 1,000 years, or how many years it's been, is based on it. And it worked fine.
You can't build any. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this question about a mathematician having to believe his axioms, it's the same as a historian, right? I mean, if a historian writes a book and says, hey, what I'm saying is factual, he has to believe that he had a reliable witness telling him, right? You have to believe in your first principle or something, So it's, a mathematician can't deny it. And a definition is neither true nor false. It just is, right? So, we're arguing about nonsense. So again, every time somebody shows me an image, all I can do is pull them up and, okay, what is it you're assuming, And if you can't tell me that, then go and do your homework and then come and talk to me again, because we're past that, you know, this showing images and fighting about them, you know.
Yeah. But this is what they're trying, and they're continuing to try it, and it's because, you know, it's to keep people in that dichotomy and keep people on both sides of an imaginary fence.
Yep.
You know, and we're not serving science or any progress, any justice by doing so.
Not at all. No, absolutely.
And again, when it comes down to the nitty gritty and the offers here, there's none of these people are ever around to have that discussion. They want to avoid it.
Yep.
You know?
Usually, why should I bother fallacy? They're just numpties.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll prove your point.
Exactly.
You'll just repeat.
Exactly.
Yep.
And again, trying to establish tools that we can all use together in order to come to understandings, but we have to agree upon them.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, I get back to it again. You know, the only thing that we all have in common with each other is our common sense. Yeah. The natural signs that we see with our touch, with our smell, with our vision. You know, those are the things that we all have and that we can all agree on. Everything else, you know, we can't. Yeah? So that has to be the foundation of any basis to move further on. Yeah. So.
Yep. Direct reality.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it.
That's what I go to, as I was saying a couple of months ago, because of the lens in the eye, and I just talked and says, I can't prove what my lens does. So anything beyond that is unknown. Yeah. You know, until I get past the eye itself, the lens, I'll get on focusing on the lens, but once I get that, well, I don't know how the fucking lens works. So what's the point, you know?
Well, hopefully we can try and get to.
We don't I use lenses in physics and stuff like that, I know, through schooling and stuff like that, but that's when I realised I was like, a lens is just manipulating. Yeah. You know, and anything that goes into your head comes through your eyes allegedly, and it's just getting manipulated for point one.
Yeah.
So how can you believe anything you actually see for what it actually is compared to what it is in reality?
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
That's why Dawkins and others really want us to believe that the eye is an imperfect, dodgy piece of equipment that doesn't really work properly. Yeah. In actual fact, it's perfect.
Based on the glasses.
I agree with what you're saying, Glenn. You know, I think this always trying to prove that, you know, your senses are in some way fallacious is what they're trying to, you know, talk us into, right? So that we don't believe in them. And that is absurd, whether it's the eye or anything else, because lived life wouldn't be possible without them. So that's proof right there for everybody, right? You know, so.
Illusions are possible, but they don't prove any defect in the eye.
No, they just show our misunderstanding of how the eye works. That's all they're really doing with that, yeah?
Yeah.
And what Marty says, you know, all these physical aspects of the eyes, you know, I mean, once you get past the lens, you've got all these rods and cones on your retina, right? And I mean, for me as a direct realist, it is a material impression that I'm getting on my eyes, right? Light is hitting a substance that's there, it's physical. I can, you know, they can take my eye out and play with it and squash it, right? And light is hitting that and leaving some material impression on that material, right? So it's no different from me pressing an object and feeling, you know, some impression of it. You know, and when you think about the rods and the cones, then you get into that this fact that we've got visual acuity and limits, right? So we can only see 1 arc minute of space. You know, if there's a bit of physical space out in front of me and it's really, really far away, right? Then at some point, the rods and the cones on my retina, you know, they're not dense enough to be able to capture that 1 arc minute, right? And it's even worse than that, because there's also a natural diffraction limit of about half an arc minute, beyond which nothing can be seen, right? So, you know, these two examples are, again, research that needs to go into exactly how the eye works, exactly what are these limitations, and let's bring it back to those first principles, understand that first before we go away and discuss images that, you know.
The limitations is a part that a lot of folk forget about. You know, well, I'm in America, how can I not see the Eiffel Tower if we live in a flat earth? Because you're fucking looking out for you can see a clown.
But that would be true even if it was a globe as well, you know. You could just as easily say that. Well, how can I not see Glasgow? You know, with my fucking naked eye from here, you know, it's retarded. Yeah.
It's retarded. I mean, you have limits to your vision, and beyond that, nature also has diffraction limits. You know, where two light sources from the extremities of an object are that close together that you basically only see 1 light source. So anything in between the 2 extremities of an object, if the stuff is really close together, you don't see anything in the middle either. It's lost to sight, right? because all you've got is one smudge on your retina, right? So, you know, I mean, those kind of things need to be talked about, discussed, fully understood, and agreed upon, and then we can have a discussion.
Yeah.
Basically, science has to start again.
Well, it's a lot of the mathematics will work, you know. As I say, it's just a switcheroo, right? So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, whether it's spherical vision in a flat plane or whether it's a curved spherical ball in a flat vision, it's, you know, it's a duality of the geometry. So you don't need to throw away the mathematics equation. They actually work for us. They're working differently for us, you know. Planes will not fall out the sky.
They're claiming things as proofs because they're claiming that their explanation is the only plausible explanation. And that's just not true. I mean,
No,
of natural perspective, if you look into natural perspective, it is as equally plausible, but the big plus to it is that it's actually provable by experiment.
By direct reality. Yeah.
We can use our direct.
We're talking about evolution at one point, and the turned around and he says, well, what else is there? I was like, well, actually, there could be anything. I was like, because you don't put limitations on your hypotheticals. I was like, it could be aliens, it could be a god, it could be this, could be anything. And he's like, no, evolution's the best one out there, so that's what I'm going to believe. And when he turned around and says that, I was like, that's just the level of the pop. It's the best one out there, so I'll just believe that.
Well, even the mainstream,
What basis is that for your life?
they push that kind of stuff. I've heard that from various people before. Well, you give me a better explanation.
Right.
Well, I'm not interested in explanations. As you say, direct realism. You know, it's what's actually tangible. An explanation means absolutely fucking nothing.
I think that's spot on, Dale, because, you know, science seems to have mutated into the best explanation must be right. Yeah. And that's not fucking science, right?
Oh.
You know, just because I have an explanation for something, you know, doesn't make it better or truer, right? So, and that's a fallacy right there again.
You know, I always turn and say, oh, the sun used to be a ball of fire, or then it was electrical, then it was nuclear, now it's plasma.
Yeah.
At what point are people going to realise they don't know what they think they know?
Yeah.
You know, it's just all hearsay and repetitive.
Well, that's been my whole push, you know, is trying to say that to people. Listen, you know, you need to separate what you're repeating and what you think you know, and you know, what is your actual direct experience? Any of these things, whatever, regardless of what subject that people are bringing to you in your life. I mean,
it's funny you should use that word, their experience, because one of the mantras that I cannot stand, right, and you hear it from everybody's entitled to an opinion.
Yeah.
No, in my fucking opinion, the only because the only people that are entitled to opinions are people that have got experience.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just frivolous fucking hearsay for whatever sounded the best for them.
Yeah.
The only people that are entitled to any kind of opinion are people with experience, not learned or indoctrinated / educated people.
Yeah.
People with actual experience.
Yeah.
That's who's entitled to an opinion.
Exactly.
Sorry, I've just got people with opinions, man. Fucking ruined me.
We talked about that the last time too. That, you know, this explanation for a best or the best explanation is somehow mutated into it being a consensus, right? Just because lots of people share the same opinion doesn't make something right. Yeah? And it's a fallacy, right? So, you know, and I come back to the consensual, you know, which means that we together experience the same thing, yeah, or sense the same thing. That's where the language abuse is again, and where we need to get back to, yeah.
Right. So curvy water, what do we all experience and sense every single day of our lives? We don't get curvy water.
Exactly. So that's principle number one. Yeah.
Like Marty doesn't like people saying that everybody's got an opinion. One that pisses me off even more is that everybody has their own truth.
Yeah.
What a load of crap.
If you're a guy in a pub.
Well, that's it. You know, we come at the top of objective reality. There only is one truth. You know, it's no subject.
Really?
You know, somebody's subjective, you know, wishes or whatever's not going to affect reality and change it in any way, shape, or form. You know.
I think that's one of the biggest problems. Too many people are trying to make subjectivity objective.
Yep.
No, there's grey for a reason.
I'm right. It's me that's right.
I got a gold star for the teacher when I was 6 that told me I was right. And you'll take that gold star away from me.
It's like Thomas Reid talking about causation when he says that people are saying that, you know, one thing happens, then the other thing happens. Well, the first thing that happened is the thing that caused the second thing. And Thomas Reid points out that, okay, so that means day causes night.
Yeah.
Or night causes day. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
That's it. That's where you can apply these things, and they apply it to everything and generalise and sweep it across the board, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what
specifics and promote that as a generalisation. You know, hang on, that's a 1 in a million thing. What are you talking about, Giblet?
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, that's just cherry picking. It's the same thing, you know, taking one thing, you know, building analogies around it, right? To, you know, make suggestions into people's heads. Yeah, they've got ideas. They start to believe it's true. They repeat it often enough, and yeah, all of a sudden you've got a subjective opinion that's taken to be a fact or nature. You know, absolute bullshit. You know, not science at all.
No, and it's just that fallacy. You see, you know, you'd be as well saying, well, there's, you know, 1 billion Muslims or 1 billion Catholics, and they all believe it and claim it's true. So therefore, because there's so many of them, it must be true. I mean, it's fucking total nonsense.
Yeah, the numbers.
And then the fallacy of, well, everybody has to be lying. Well, that's utter bollocks as well, because look at us. You know, we all believed what we assumed to know, and, you know, we weren't actively lying. You know, I didn't actively lie about the globe for 30 odd years of my life. I just believed it.
Yep.
You know, you walk into a fucking nursery in a primary school and there's globes everywhere, you know, what you meant to do.
Aye.
You say we're born into it, you know, and the reason why, you know, there's no big conspiracy out there, and I'll keep pointing it out, is that those people who haven't understood the direct realism and the difference between the two, or how the language gets manipulated, or the fact that there's a dual geometry at play here, right? You know, so it's very easy to follow the other one. And I'll say it again, you know, as a mathematician, you can actually believe that your conclusions are correct but you're never questioning the assumptions you made. So nobody's out to deliberately confuse you. They're just confused themselves and not thinking about it properly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what we say is about mathematics. For mathematics to work, whether it's an equation level or everything, you have to have provable integers and turn it into arithmetic.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to just, oh, well, this is a constant, that's a constant, no, prove it. Before, no, you need to turn mathematics into arithmetic for it to work. It can only work if you can prove the integers you're putting within your equation.
Which goes back to substance. You go to have actual tangible substance.
Which is Gavin saying about back to believing in axioms that aren't actually proven.
Yeah.
Just accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're saying, Marty, there is basically, you know, everything has to be rational, right? It has to be built on some number that you can set in proportion to each other, you know?
Yeah.
And that's absolutely right. You can only, that comes back to actually building, you know, a 3, 4, 5 triangle, or a, you know, 8, 10, 12 one. Do you know what I mean? So that you need substance to be able to turn that into a finite ratio that actually is provable and practical. So yeah, you're quite right, Marty.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing you were saying before, Gav, was that there's no conspiracy. I wouldn't agree with that. I'd say there is a conspiracy. It's just that most people aren't in on it.
Yeah.
And the mathematicians that are really pushing it really believe in those axioms. So if they can go away and prove to themselves, they can sit down for days and do all their equations and say, yeah, well, there it is. There it is. I can prove it.
Yeah.
It works. So that's what's happening, I think, by far the majority of the scientists and mathematicians and everybody that's involved. But I still believe that there is a conspiracy. I mean,
thanks for correcting me. You're quite right. That's what I meant. Yeah, there is some elite that fucking know what's happening and they're pushing the agenda. But I think 99% of the population is just deluded the way we were. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those people that push that fucking nonsense, everybody would have to be in on it. You know, shut your fucking mouth. You know, just
hierarchy works.
Exactly. Compartmentalisation.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I just hope that some of the stuff we're talking about, other people will look at it closer, you know, come to the same realization and inquire into it, you know, whether it's how the eye works, the geometry stuff, the language, because, you know, my worry is always that, you know, if we don't expose it and get it all out there so that people know what's happened, they'll be able to do it again with the next fucking bullshit, you know? So, you know, the populace has to be awake, inquiring, you know.
that comes down again to is taking responsibility and repeating and being repetitive with it, you know, in order to drill it home and get people listening to it and paying attention. You know? The ideal situation, you would say it once and people would take heed, but unfortunately it's not the case, you know. And we've got these clowns running about, you know, social media, YouTube, you know, spouting this stuff, sowing confusion with people and perpetuating it. You know, keep this false dichotomy going of globe versus flat. It's not, we're talking about science, we're talking about objectivity. You know, there isn't dichotomy, it only is what it is. And it's a matter of having discussions in order to understand it. You know what I mean?
And the majority of people that are creating all the discourse are no longer out of school. So they're just, oh, but hang on, now I've got my gold stars, so I need to promote this. Or else I've just been lied to for fucking the past 16 years of my life.
We've got that to deal with as well. You get people who don't want to face up to the fact that they're duped or, you know, they've got an investment in it, whatever way, you know?
Absolutely. And as you say, all the people running about, you know, I mean, they're giving people doubts. It's not as if any reasonable man doesn't have doubts about what he thinks, right? You know, you'd be a complete arrogant asshole, you know, if you didn't. So they play on that too, don't they? You know, sowing a little bit of doubt and fear, and then you see people swaying back and forth, and you know, and by the time that, it's fucking.
You know, doubts, they create questions, and then that's when you get the right answers.
Well, so it's part of the Socratic method within yourself, you know, not just putting it out there externally.
I just think earlier on, Gavin, I think you mentioned something about common sense.
Yeah.
Need to tell you that that's actually leaving because health and safety has come in. Common sense, man. Who's that Australian guy, the comedian, and he talks about there's a fucking hole in the ground. You know, common sense tells you I'm not going to fucking step in that. But no, you need health and safety to tell you.
Aye.
Not the health and safety. Fuck, you broke my leg.
That's exactly. I know.
But people have given up their authority to make decisions for themselves. You know, that's half the problem. You know, said that a few times too. You know, that if people give it up and don't have that, you know, self-determination, and I believe in people with white coats, then, you know, you've also got no way to verify it for yourself. So you've given up totally, you know, and we need to reclaim that, you know.
And we need to reclaim the language too. They've taken ownership of the language. They own the
I hate the way people speak nowadays. I even checked my daughter the other day. I see somebody like, oh, too true on that one. And I was like, how the fuck is that grammatically correct? She's just going in here like that. Oh shit, he's going after one. Omg, Lamal, what the fuck? And they've actually started expecting allowing phonetics in English in the schools. No text talk. If a word sounds like that, you can write it like that because everybody knows what you're saying. Fucking dumbing down to the populace. But anyways.
Alright, have a rant.
Party in
Don't trigger me. I need a safe space.
I don't you be making videos about you, you're a ranting lunatic and you're angry and fucking.
You mean the disembodied voice that I can hear?
But they'll never see me.
But I also think another great example of what we're talking about is, you know, the definitions of measurements too. I've said this as well, but, you know, depending on the geometry that you're assuming, your definition of measurement changes, right? So, you know, again, when they come and they ask the people who don't believe in a globe to, well, show us the model and show us how to measure it, then, you know, there's still no agreement again on what is the definition of a measure depending on the geometry you're on, you know. So yeah, it reminds me a bit of the budgie smuggler. You know, I was when they were talking about that, I was just thinking in Scotland you don't measure budgies by inches. You know, we measure in leg lengths. Half a leg.
Budgie smuggler, that's an Aussie term, isn't it?
Budgie smuggling, is it?
For Speedos.
Speedos, that's the one, huh? So you can see where they've implemented this, and as you say, you know, even you talking about the health and safety, it's like, to me, it's almost like are they giving up their fucking common senses? Are they, you know, let's put this in here as test to see if they are actually that fucking gullible and stupid.
Nobody knows how to think anymore.
Yeah.
You know, they're just waiting on a list on how to live.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what everybody's waiting on. They're just waiting on this magical list that tells them how to live their life, where they are, who they are, why they are, and then there you go, there's a book for you.
That's it.
Fuck your book.
That's it.
There isn't a book.
That's it. That's
The
it.
last book they try to enforce on is always the Bible, sure.
Yeah. Well,
Another
now
good. Sorry, on you go.
I was just going to say, now it's the globe. You know, they've gave up that and we're now into the globe religion. You know?
Another good example is in the computing world. There's a big hype at the moment about cognitive agents. You know, things like chatbots that you can ask them any question and they'll answer you. You know, because people don't want to make their own decisions or think anymore. You know, all they do is they speak into a machine, they get the answer, and you know. But it's another example of people, not fucking being actively inquiring anymore. You know.
I'm telling you, when I was out at Quick Draws and he's got his iPhone out, and I'm like, does that make you intelligent? He's like, I can ask this thing anything that'll answer me. And I was like, so who's fucking intelligent? You're that fucking inanimate object you're claiming, mate. I'm touching. You're a fucking toucher. All you're doing is touching a screen, mate. You're low intelligent.
That's it. Well, that's what they've done. They've gave up. It's a new god, isn't it? You know, this interweb.
Mind he's sorry, his best response was, because of the technology and all that, because he's got an iPhone and I've got a fucking Walkman phone. In terms of, he's like, you're going to get left behind. And I was like, where's everybody going?
Mate, I've got a dumb phone.
Is that why we need screen?
It's only got buttons that makes noises.
I need to put a key in the back of the lines and wind it up. I look for screen.
I tell you what, I don't watch television or listen to the radio much, but I was doing some work for a bloke today, or yesterday actually, and I was using his vehicle, and he had the radio on in it. And there's one of those radio talkback shows on, and the people that were ringing in were discussing how it's disgusting and that people were getting upset and offended because people were calling them names like love and doll and sweetheart. You're not allowed to call people those names anymore. If you sort of walk into a shop and you bump into somebody, oh, sorry, love. You're not allowed to say that anymore. You've got to say, oh, sorry, madam.
Sure, there's laws passed in Canada. If somebody wants to identify as a certain name, you have to call them that name or you can face jail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's that, and that's just outrageous. They're trying to change the law in Canada so that you can actually end up in jail for not respecting what somebody wants to call themselves, even if they want to call themselves a zebra or a pink unicorn.
To me, that's where it's gone really wrong, because obviously, yourself, I'm more into attacking that kind of social justice stuff nowadays than the flat earth thing, is because that's enforced language. It's bad enough restricting free speech, but to actually enforce language and telling people what to say, that's a line beyond, But anyway, that's a sideline anyway.
We're probably off getting off track. Just while I'm on that radio program, they also mentioned that there's Australian politicians pushing for the establishment of an Australian space agency.
Hey.
One of the commentators said something like, even if they take $10, it'll be a waste of money.
You get your very own fake images, Glenn.
Anyway, off track there.
No, it's all good, man.
It's all joined through the web, mate. Yeah, everyone's joined through the fucking web.
That assault on free speech, or free thinking in this case, really more than free speech, they're trying to control what's in your mind, it's the same thing that they've done to perpetuate the globe lie. So it all does hang together, Marty. People need to discern all these things to come to the correct realization, I think.
To keep promoting the globe is just to promote everybody as an accidental insignificance.
Yeah.
And that's why people are always coming for a point of fear nowadays, because they're subconsciously just living in fear without even knowing it. They're an insignificant little accident according to the fucking globe and fucking evolution.
It's a grounding, it's a foundation that's no steady, it's no secure,
It's not flat and stationary, no.
That's that level. And even to get back to the eye thing, I keep bringing that up to people before, if I blindfold you and, I put you on a platform and I slightly tilt you in any direction, you know, your senses, your internal, you know, gyroscope, call it what you will, is going to tell you and let you know. So that for me, you know, everything's balanced and set from that, you know, that point, you know.
Absolutely. It's absolute nonsense for them to tell us that we don't feel it. You know, everybody has an orientation of what up and down means. Huh? It's only the mathematicians that have tried to, you know, tell us that we don't, you know, and they've put us on this ball and upside down, you know. Absolute nonsense, you know.
No, come on, fellas. No, we've got to accept the fact that it's actually those little balls in your ears being pulled to the centre of the earth.
Yeah, I forgot about that, Glenn. Good. Thanks for pointing that out. I need to go back and study that one. Get re-educated. Find my way in society again. It's all a big mistake. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Actually, that's one of the things that gets me is the question that comes up so often about why is it so important? You know, what does it matter if it's a globe or if it's a flat plane? And that's, I think, my own personal feeling is that it's the central issue. It's what every other lie is based on. They get away with everything else because they've got away with that one.
Of course. Yep. Yeah. And if you have a fake, false foundation or a weak foundation, we all know, you know, collapse. That's exactly it. You know? So, you know, it annoys me, you know, for any human, you know, they were prominent in my lips even as a kid. You know, what is this I'm experiencing? Where am I? Why am I here? You know, and if you're continually being pushed, you know, falsities, then you're forever going to be in perpetual confusion.
Hell yeah.
So, you know, it really shows the shallowness of people. The lack of contemplation in them. When you hear that crap, what does it matter? What does it matter? I mean, fuck. Well, no problem then. You know, be malleable and somebody else's fucking tool in a game that's not even in your control. You know.
Yeah.
By all means, be a zombie.
Keep eating poison. Keep letting them inject poisons into you. Let them keep taking your money. Let them keep you in slavery. All these every aspect. I keep trying to find an aspect of life that they haven't deceived us about. I still can't find one.
Absolutely true.
The worst poison for me is belief in these ideas that people adopt and incorporate into their mind as if it's something, you know, that's part of their direct experience, and you know it's not going to serve you any purpose apart from causing you confusion.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
And the Kool-Aid's not just a physical Kool-Aid, it's these ideas and beliefs and all these things that are out there, you know.
I actually disagree with you slightly there, Del, only in as much as I think we can only believe. It's those dogmatic beliefs that are the problem.
Yeah.
An aggressive enforcement of a belief system. No, thank you. I'll walk the opposite direction.
How dare you disagree with me, Glenn? Do you not know the protocols here? If you disagree with me,
sorry, mate. Sorry.
Fucking ban.
Just to add on to what we were saying earlier about people bound into authority and all that, that's indoctrinated through the education system as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
they want to ban fucking schools.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So easily done as well, right? That's, you know, the having people kowtow. We police ourselves, right? You know.
Okay.
We had that discussion a couple of weeks ago with you know, it's got to the point now where even if you're wearing a high-vis vest, right? You know, you're not even an authority. You know, I could just walk around that street with a high-vis vest on, and you see people automatically getting into that, you know, authoritarian, you know, servant mindset. Oh, he's wearing a high-vis vest. He must be an authority or some kind of better about him.
My granny in her later days, no, she wasn't well at all. She used to have a home help. But see, before the home help would come in, she'd get out of her fucking sick bed, clean up the house, because they didn't want a dirty house for the home help coming in. The home help was coming in to clean your fucking house. And also, if the doctor was coming, oh my God, Sunday vest on. Yeah. Oh, you're fucking dying here. I know, the doctor's coming. I better put my good clothes on. The doctor's coming.
Oh, yeah. You can see it with the police as well, you know.
Oh,
I mean, for you know, the police, you know, they're there to serve and protect, right? But you know, I think anybody who gets stopped by the police, their heart beats faster, right? And it's certainly not because they've got this cozy feeling that the policeman's coming to serve and protect them, right? You know, so
And if they were really there and fulfilling that role, you know, these things, they would think about that and how they're imposing on people by their dress, their mannerisms. But none of that's addressed, none of that's catered for, you know.
No. Well, the people are just scared
for the government, you just flip it 180 degrees. Because when the police started putting on the side of their motors, making communities safer, that's when communities went to fuck.
Yeah.
As soon as they bring out something, it goes flip.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true. You know, I say that about the whole globe thing. You know, you can reverse everything they've told you, and just as you were saying about the eye and stuff, you know, for all I know, we could be in a sphere. You know, this could be like a gyroscopic setup where you're in a sphere with a level plane in the middle of it. I mean,
yep, absolutely. We can't exclude that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I just know definitely is that the way our eye works is different from the way they tell us, and as far as I'm concerned, that's where a lot of investigation needs done. And from my mathematical standpoint, I can see how the deception was perpetrated because it's a dual system that they've got, you know. Yeah. So, you know, and I just hope people can, you know, realize that and look closer at it, yeah.
Well, hopefully you can keep digging, mate. You know, as I keep saying before, everybody's got different skill sets and attention, and that's your path, your journey. You're obviously the man with the tools to dig into that. You know, I wish I had them, but I just don't. So, you know, I'm appreciative of people like yourself who go about looking into these things, you know.
Well, I'm appreciative of people like Glenn who are helping me formulate it in a way that, you know, everybody can hopefully understand, you know, and not get whatever, you know, scared or, you know, mathematical equations won't help anybody. It needs to be shown in a manner that everybody can comprehend, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just need to keep at it, guys.
Absolutely. Oh, we're not going away, that's for sure.
Exactly. And that's the point I keep putting to these clowns, you know, that are running about. You know, if they're claiming they're scientific and reasonable in any way, shape or form, they would be coming to the table for this and pushing the same as we are to have these discussions and try and work these things out, you know. You know, we don't have something to protect. It's not like, oh, we want to protect flat earth just because, you know, the way they try and make it out. You know, we're active inquiring people who are looking into the nature of reality and how things are operating. You'd think that the way they claim that they would want to be involved in that, but they seem more hell-bent in causing division and keeping this false dichotomy going.
And the biggest question that people forgo to ask, says who?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate question. Somebody comes out with something, really? Says who?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it needs to come back to, you know. All these people out there just, you know, not wanting to have that discussion are either not far enough down the line, you know, go away and, you know, come back, or they're deliberately confusing the waters, you know.
Yeah.
And I think there's both there. There's both sets of people in there.
Yeah, and regardless, you know, even if it's pointed out to these people and they continue, that should tell you, because there's a lot of people out there trying to guess it. Oh, where's the agency? Where's the trolls? Look at what we're saying right now and how we're trying to bring people to that discussion. And these other characters who perpetually keep going. That should tell you a hell of a lot about what their agenda is, what their incentives are.
Absolutely. I mean, you can give them 1, 2, 3 chances to get it right, but if they continue to ignore it, then they must have some other purpose behind what they're doing, some other motive. I agree with that. Everybody gets a couple of chances, but after that, they're at it.
I've said that for a long time. Stupidity only goes so far before I start saying, well, you know, this is beyond stupidity now. You know,
I've lived in a version of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. You know, where they have got it perfect, so there is these dumb fucks that don't question anything and just accept everything they're told, but we're just a glitch in the machine as such. Hang on the road, no, I can actually think. Shit! Renegades!
Can't have that.
They've come out their own shelf.
It's like, I don't know why I thought of it, but just at this moment while we were talking about that, I was thinking about rocket propulsion. Why does anybody believe in the concept of rocket propulsion in the vacuum? And it just, all you've got to, when people talk to me about it, I just say to them, what happens if you take a jet ski out of the water? Where does it go? No fucking where.
Exactly.
I was in a misinstructions. A good one. That's not evidence yet, though, Glenn. That's just an analogy. You're going to have to prove that claim. Are you sure it's a self-evident truth?
Back to that again, you know, vacuums, pressurized systems, no solid separation. I mean, what the fuck are we even talking about it for, you know? And I seen it again on Facebook today. This is how such and such behaves in a vacuum, and this is how such. Now, we don't live in a fucking vacuum. Why are people continuing to push things about vacuums and how they behave in vacuums? We live in a pressurized, gaseous environment, you know?
Well, actually, it seems somebody tries to show me a vacuum. I'm like, what? This is a vacuum. What is vacuum about? Oh, I've sucked all the air out, so there's nothing in there. But you still got it sealed.
Yeah.
Right? So for you to have your vacuum, you need to have it sealed.
Yeah.
So explain where atmosphere disappears and space starts.
Exactly. Exactly.
And going back to rocket propulsion, talk about they say balloon analogy. And once you let go the what do you call it, the nozzle on the balloon, and the air starts pushing out, they claim that creates a equal and opposite push against the opposite side of the balloon. I mean, that's just absolute pesh, to put it into Scottish. Everybody knows, every scientist on Earth must know that the pressure against the entire inside surface of that balloon is going to be the same on every part of it except at the hole.
Yeah.
And they're trying to tell us that it's on exactly the opposite side of the balloon, so that's why the balloon moves away that way. It's got nothing to do with the air pushing against the air as it rushes out of the hole. It's just so ridiculous. It doesn't want to make me laugh. It makes me want to cry. People that sort of stuff.
Again, if a mathematician pulls you up on that, you know, and he has certainly different axioms and definitions, then, you know, he believes that that's perfectly reasonable, Glenn, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But where's the practical examples? You know, it's just, you know, my mantra all the time, you know, show me in practical reality.
you don't need to do that in maths, Dale.
No.
You just need that in physics, natural philosophy and science, but maths? No, we don't need to worry about physical space or substance. We can just make models, everything.
Numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maths is just painting by made up numbers.
Yeah. Numbers and ideas.
Exactly. Which is why it's classed as a form of science, you know?
Yep.
Yep.
So, I don't know if anybody's got anything else to say about the
Pontchartrain
nonsense. I'm just going to shut these windows down because I don't think you have them anymore.
Well, I just keep coming back to that, you know, that accuracy of 2 extra inches to account for the curvature along that. What was it, Glenn? 21 miles, or how long is it?
It's 24 miles long, and that Modern Marbles program, every time they go to an advertisement, they'd have a little meme page come up. And I'd been watching the video a couple of years ago, actually. I was just sitting there watching it, and it gets to about 3/4 of the way through, and they go to an ad, and that thing comes up, and I just pissed myself laughing. I just thought, you've got to be joking. 2 inches over 24 miles to account for the so-called curvature of the Earth. Give it up.
It doesn't even make, you know, sense according to their mathematics, yeah? Never mind the practical fucking difficulties involved.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that claim there's an 8-inch curve per mile squared. That's their claim, not ours. And apply that to 24 miles and get a 2-inch difference in the length of the bridge. Give me a break.
Yeah.
If you actually read up and follow it through, you realise when they completed the bridge, it was 2 inch long, or 2 inch too long.
That's when the guy get fired that couldn't get it to 1/100th of an inch.
This last piece is 2 inch long, 10 inch off either side, and don't tell anyone.
That's what they do in real life, huh?
I've got to admit, sometimes I'm laughing now. I'm only laughing because you guys are laughing, because sometimes I haven't got a clue what Marty just said.
I was going to say that, you know, I think we need to slot in some subtitles.
Does one require a phone voice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You have to turn on the Sean Connery.
Oh dear.
Yes. Yes. I will get complaints, you know.
Oh dear.
You know.
Well, tell this complaining. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I think we've said all we can say about the pontchartrain. Yeah, we can move on and get back to asking other people to come and discuss first principles with us, please.
Yeah. So again, the offer's there for any of these people who think, you know, they know what they're talking about. The offer's opened. Let us know, and we'll have you in, and we can have that discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good invitation. An invitation to discuss first principles.
Yeah.
Then we can go somewhere. Until we've got those, we can't go anywhere.
Yeah, so we know they'll be listening, the Timmies, the Gems, the whatever's out there, you know, where are you? You know, you can run about making your fucking hit piece nonsense all you like, you're just proving to me beyond any shadow of doubt that you're an incompetent fucking numpty. It's not worthy of having any discussion, you know, until you can raise your game and come to the table.
There's a difference between having a discussion where people are actually progressing through their own ideas, almost to the extent of Chatham House. You know, you can just say what the fuck you want and put it out there.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to what you're getting nowadays is just repeat, ad infinitum.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But you're saying that. I'm not interested in that because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So somebody else will do the exact same thing. You're going to give him a discussion. No, you get a point and you say, listen, that's been brought in, debunked, get it to fuck.
Yeah.
Somebody want to translate.
I'm not into defending any positions, you know. That's not what it's about. That's the false dichotomy. So
it's got to be an open discussion. First principles decided upon. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and the common theme is that we're all interested in establishing what the objective reality actually is.
Focus on the core rather than the symptoms.
Yeah.
See all their images and all that, and that's symptoms, right? Fuck that. Just get to the core. You know, because if you get to the core, that's when you can get the cure. And that's why I was appreciating Gav earlier on about the eye, because that's where I took it back to the core. Hang on, the new where's it all focusing on? Our eyes.
Yeah.
You know, so you need to take it back to that. So no matter what comes to the table, take that back to the core point rather than dealing with symptoms. You know, symptoms are subjective. The core is objective.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'll come back to that too. This geometry of vision thing, I've looked at all the mathematical books and texts I can find spanning 400 years, right? All the since they started English. And not once does anybody talk about the geometry of visual space, which I tried to describe earlier with the horizon and the parallel lines meeting at 2 points. It's spherical, right? And nowhere will you find anywhere in the literature, apart from, you know, smallish publications or unknown philosophers like Thomas Reid, will you find anything. Nobody has addressed that whole geometry of vision in more than 2,000 years. And my question is, why not? Yeah. And could it just have something to do with what they're telling us? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's when you can see this with the whole symbolism with the fucking eyes and the fucking eye, the pyramid.
The eye is seeing all.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it.
It's the all that you're seeing that people are dealing with rather than what is actually seeing it.
So going back to the faction of who knows, you know, it seems to me that they know and they're sticking out there and rubbing it right in your face.
Right.
You know? Big giant wind up, they're all sitting in a wee room giggling.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're living up all.
Exactly.
Going back to what Gav was saying, then Thomas Reid put it a slightly different way, where he said that from the global point of view, they've tortured it. From the tangible point of view, looking at tangible geometry, they've tortured it every which way but loose, and yet they've not looked at the geometry of vision at all. No mathematician has discussed it. It's.
Hey Marty, here's a good picture of Einstein laughing at us.
Upside down.
He's usually got his tongue out, but you know, here is a picture of him showing an eye, showing the retina. The only thing missing is his tongue. Yeah, they're fucking laughing.
Of course they are. Everything's upside down. That's how, you know yourself, I was in a hellish 8 years ago. I was a wee fucking working slave and all the rest of it. And then you realise, hang on, everything's actually upside down. And no matter what comes to me, I just flip it around the other way and it fits comfortably.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Everything they tell us is arse with fucking hell, but
upside down, back to front. Exactly.
Punch board or counter.
Yeah.
And probably the most important question I've got for the day is what's the difference between a numpty and a bam pot?
One's just an Egypt and the other one's poggle.
You know what a bam pot is, right? There's a bam pot and a bam stick which you use to, you know, grind materials, you know. So it's like a punch and a socket. They're pretty useless otherwise, except for that one purpose, you know. So. I'm sure I'll give you a description of a numpty.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to these guys. I mean, I don't know if there's much more we can say about the pontchartrain thing and, you know, any of these other points, but apart from, you know, keep at it, and, you know, we'll keep bringing this to the table, and hopefully we can get them to engage in some of this discussion, you know.
Yeah, well, Glenn and I are working on a few documentaries or videos that we want to get up pretty soon. Cool. That hopefully will, you know, break it down so that it can be easier followed. This has been a bit of a very quick ad hoc summary of the overall problem, but I think for folk to understand it, you know, we need more material. So,
well, you know, as soon as it's there, I'll stick it up here, and, you know, no problem.
Right, the wider coverage gets, the better.
Exactly.
I think one thing I'd like to sort of push a little bit is getting a group together, or somehow or another organising an actual experiment at the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, because it is 24 miles long and because it is obviously flat. You know, you could do, like, I think the first guy I ever saw mention it in a book was our friend, what's his name, wrote Zetetic Astronomy.
Robot.
Yeah, Robot. He mentions in one of his books about doing a back and forth sighting with theodolites, where you start at one point, you go to the next point, you start at one point and you sight the second point, then you move to the second point and sight back to the first point, and then you just move on to the third point, and you're just sighting backwards and forwards all the way across, so that you prove beyond any doubt that there's no curve.
Yeah.
And I'd really like to see some people, a group of people in the States, maybe get together. Or, you know, maybe we could all help somehow or another. You know, I don't know how it could be organised, but it'd be really good to see a properly rigorous scientific study made of that what do you call it, phenomena, that bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can certainly. It's too far away for me, but certainly help in any way in describing the experiment, or, you know, looking at the methods and stuff. I definitely want to be part of it.
We can put it out there from here, and if anybody's interested in it, then they can let us know and
contact us.
Contribute any way we can. You know? Like, again, for me, you know, I understand people need these things, but the best measuring tool is a liquid that's fucking right there in front of us. So it tells me everything I need to know.
I agree wholeheartedly, Del. I wish we didn't have to push for these other things. I mean, those things are just so obvious. Yeah. It's like the other things I was sort of pointing out. There's so many things that are so obvious, and yet the people that the general public seem to look up to for their authority on these sort of, they don't get it. Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we have to play to the state of mind that people are in, you know. And if things, they need things like that, then by all means, you know, I'm for it. If it helps the progress.
But me too. It's the same for the same reasons, you know. Nobody needs to prove to me that water's level. So, but if it helps somebody else, you know, make that jump, then fine, you know. But for me, it's a self-evident truth that is beyond proof. Yeah.
It's a fact of reality, you know, that you know, you have to go far to try and deny it to yourself, you know.
I just, all you need to do is ask people to imagine what it would be like if water stuck to the outside of stuff, you know. Imagine trying to get through a day.
Scotland?
Peering through your fucking time. Can you scrape this water off me? I can't see.
Right.
And nobody would ever be lost at sea because we'd see the silhouette of them in the top of the water. All sinking ships, we could see them, look, here it's there.
Until you zoom in and you realise they're only sinking.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Let's keep at this and do it again soon, hopefully.
No, no bother, man. Good chat.
Excellent.
I'm no longer nervous. Thanks, chaps.
Excellent. Appreciate you coming on, man.
You've lost your virginity.
I've lost my virginity.
You'll not hear yourself fart.
Guys, nice to see you again for the first time, Marty.
Cheers, bud. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Sorry, Glenn, I missed that there. You broke up, mate.
I just said, good to talk to you, Marty. You too, Del. It's been real good fun.
Well, you're welcome anytime. You know that. We'll just keep at this and keep bringing it to the table.
Yeah.
You know? As I say, the projects that you're working on, you know, I'll put it up here right away. You know, whenever there's something there to offer.
No worries.
Cheers, man.
Cheers for the blether, lads. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
A nice wee afternoon.
Aye, excellent. Marshall, cheers, mate. Appreciate it as always.
Is Marshall still here?
He's there, eh?
Oh, I'm still here, mate.
Good on you, Marshall. Good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, cheers, man. I've enjoyed the convo. Gav, I pointed people because they've been asking about whether you got a channel, and I said, you know, the content that's going to interest people is already mirrored on Beyond the Imaginary Curve. So for any of Gav's back catalogue, it's already present up on Beyond the Imaginary Curve, peeps. If you just dial back a couple of months and you'll see the research that he's been doing.
Yeah, and that natural perspective and tools for truth, these kinds of videos, and obviously Gav's got his channel there as well. But you know, anything that's coming forward for Gav and Glenn, I'll be putting up here right away for people to access, you know, and share it.
I've got Ranty sort of trying to send through a link to Lake Pontchartrain, which I've seen. I can't resolve the link, Ranty, and it's the video that shows a total lack of arc from the same perspective. So yeah, I mean, thanks a lot, dude, for trying. I have seen it. Unfortunately, I can't pull it up on screen for some reason.
Well, that's the observations you would have to be doing over, you know, different periods, different temperatures, different times of the year, see what you get. You know, they're not following the scientific method. It's cherry picking. Oh, this suits our story. We're just going to use it and throw it out there and insist to people that that's what's happening. Well, they're not getting away with it, you know. So
beat it into them.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, appreciate it, Glenn. Anytime, man.
Good on you, thanks, Del. I'll see you.
Take it easy, man. Marshall.
See you, Marty. See you, Marshall.
Cheers, see you soon.
Marshall, cheers, mate. Everybody watching, anybody in chat, I hope you get something useful from that. As I say, we'll be keeping at it. We'll be back tomorrow as usual, 7:30. It's the People Beyond the Imaginary Curve. If you want to come in and have your say, let us know you're there, discuss any topic, by all means, just send an email to nocurve@gmx.com, or you can have the phone number, which I'll put out tomorrow night when we start. Well, much appreciated. Marshall, cheers again, man. Cheers, everybody.